Good morning, class. Today is Thursday, April 2nd. And today's book is, can anybody tell me? The Curious Garden. That's right. And we always know it's easier to read them without the book cover on. So there we go. Curious Garden. You'll notice the inside cover. Take a good look. It's important. All right. And what is this page called? That's right. Why? And that's right. Here we go. The Curious Garden, one of my faves. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors, and as you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. Looks pretty dreary. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days, while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. What's he going to do? Well, Liam ran up the stairs and pushed open the door and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last thing he expected to find up there, but when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. Huh. They needed a gardener. Well, Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. Look at that. So, most gardeners stay in one place. Most gardens stay in one place. But this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. Well, the tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Over the next few months, Liam and the Curious Garden explored every corner of the railway. Well, check that out. Look where this garden is going. Oh, look. So beautiful. Love it. Oh, and look at this. It's popping up everywhere. Well, after spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. But he can play outside in the snow. Well, Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Oh, he's got it all together, doesn't he? Winter had taken a toll on the garden, but thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. Look, it's happening again. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. Look at that. Huh. Look, right on top. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. What's that? Uh-huh, you're right. What's that? Uh-huh. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. Who did that? He did. Well, but the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. Look at them all.